Alright, what is going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing a video going over the top 5 draft picks from the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft, in my opinion. These are in order from when they were drafted, so the first one I'll go over is towards the front of the draft, and then the last one I'll go is towards the end of the draft. These are just the picks that I think are the most valuable based on the player, the position, and sort of where the team is in their need going forward. And without further ado, let's get into my first one. Alright, so my first pick that I'm going to go over today is Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle from Ohio State University. The Cardinals selected Paris Johnson at 6 overall in this year's draft. Johnson's a 6'6", 310-pound offensive tackle, an absolute specimen at tackle. And I think this is a great pickup, as Johnson's arguably the best tackle in this year's draft. In my opinion, he was the best. That's probably who I would have went with. And coming off of a disastrous season as the Cardinals did last year, they really could have went anywhere. I mean, they had holes in every single position except for, I guess, quarterback and safety. And that's if they keep their safety, Budda Baker. I like this pick as they have their franchise quarterback or one that is paid as such in Kyler Murray. And I think it's a great investment always to get an offensive line, especially one as good as Johnson. Johnson had a PFF grade of 83.0 in his junior season in 2022, which was 4th out of all the Power 5 tackles this past season. He played 13 games. In those 13 games, he had 449 pass block snaps and only allowed 2 sacks. The Cardinals front office, in my opinion, did a great job of ignoring all the eye candy that is the quarterbacks, defensive linemen, corners. I mean, you need those positions to win, but I do think it starts in the trenches with your offensive line, especially when your best player is your quarterback in Kyler, and you need to protect him. You don't want him running around for, I mean, he's been getting hurt the last couple of years. You don't want him to have to be running for his life every single season, and you need to protect your best player, and that's exactly what this pick will do. Alright, so the second draft pick I want to go over is Darnell Wright, offensive tackle out of Tennessee. The Chicago Bears traded back from 9th overall and selected Wright at 10th overall. They received a 4th round pick from the Eagles and went back one spot. I understand some fans wanted them to draft Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter has a good to great chance to be the better player of the two. But it's vital that the Bears protect Justin Fields. Wright had an overall PFF grade of 71.3 in 2022. He had a 65 run grade and an 80.2 pass block grade, so he's a much better pass blocker, which is what they need. They were a good run team last year, the Bears, but a severely below average passing team, and much of the reason for that was because of their offensive line. He played all 13 games last season at Tennessee with 507 pass block snaps and allowed 0 sacks all year. He played every snap at right tackle. And looking at it now, the only right tackle the Bears have at their depth chart right now as a starter on the depth chart is Alex Leatherwood, who was another high draft pick bust from a couple years ago from the Raiders, I believe. So this was a position of dire need for the Bears, and they need an upgrade. I think this is a great pick, as even if you aren't sure about Fields being the future quarterback for your team, giving him all the help you can find will ensure that he has everything he needs to succeed. Last year it seemed as though he was running every other play, just trying to evade pressure, and investing in the offensive line is the best thing Poles can do for his QB to make it easier to evaluate him. Just giving your quarterback, especially young quarterback I think they chose him, actually they took him at like 12, I think they traded up for him 15. But just surrounding him with pieces as an offensive line and weapons at receiver, like they did getting DJ Moore, this is going to make it easier to see if he is your quarterback moving forward, as the more seasons you waste with no talent around him, like keeping him at quarterback just takes away opportunities to go get your franchise quarterback and waste seasons. So I think this is a step in the right direction to make that offensive line feasible, and just make it easier to evaluate Justin Fields, as I think he only has about 2 years left on that rookie deal. So yeah, this was my second pick, was Darnell Wright. The third pick I want to go over is Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. Gonzalez is a 6'1", 197-pound sophomore corner. He was arguably the best corner in this year's draft, up there with Devin Witherspoon. The Patriots traded back to the 17th overall, gained an extra fourth rounder, and still landed Gonzalez. He instantly becomes the Patriots' best cornerback on their depth chart, and I think this is a great landing spot for him to learn under Bill Belichick, as he's great with producing cornerbacks. He's strong everywhere. He's good in press, man, zone, slot. You could really put him anywhere on the field, so he's versatile. He had an 83.3 overall PFF grade in 2022. He had an 83.9 coverage grade and a 75.8 run defense grade. So he's still good in the run. He's a good tackler. Out of the 716 defensive snaps, he was targeted only 64 times and allowed 39 receptions for 495 yards and only 3 touchdowns. He also had 4 interceptions on the year to go along with that. He allowed a 74.7 passer rating when targeted. New England had the 8th best defense last season, but in a division with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, and Garrett Wilson, you're going to need great cornerbacks, especially in today's NFL with how the penalties are called in defense. And that's exactly what they got in Gonzalez. He's an instant day one starter. Like I said, he's their best cornerback, and to get him at 17th overall is insane value. I'm surprised he went 3rd overall at cornerback with, I think it was Banks went above him. I can't remember who went above him, but I thought it was pretty much lock. Him and Witherspoon would have been number 1. I don't think he's 12 picks worse than Devin Witherspoon. But still, they gained an extra 4th rounder and still were able to get their cornerback 1 at 17, so I just think it was great value for them. All right, so my 4th pick is Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College. The Baltimore Ravens selected Flowers at 22nd overall. Flowers was the 3rd receiver taken in a row. He's 5'9", 180 pounds. He's a smaller receiver, faster receiver. And you can never add enough speed to your offense. You can't coach it. He ran a 4.42 at the 40 at the Combine this year. He had a 75.5 overall PFF grade in 2022 with a 76.1 receiving grade. He played 12 games. And in those 12 games, he played 506 offensive snaps, where he spent 166 snaps in the slot and 337 on the outside. So you can really play him anywhere. I know they just got Odell a few weeks ago, so he probably plays some in the slot. But once again, he's versatile. You can really mix him in anywhere. He had 78 catches on 124 targets for 1,077 yards and 13.8 yards a catch for 12 touchdowns last season. I really like this pick because one of the main issues with the Ravens since the Lamar term started has been the lack of receivers. We've seen plenty of young QBs get paired with good receivers and see them flourish. Lamar's best receiver, besides his tight end Mark Andrews, was Hollywood Brown, who's no longer with them. And at that, he's really not that great. So on the same day, they signed Lamar for 5 years. They get him some help at receiver. I think this is a great investment, and if it pans out, will have huge dividends moving forward for their passing game. You really can't go wrong with investing a first-round pick into your quarterback. Just get him some weapons. This has been one of the biggest criticism of the Baltimore Ravens, was that they just refused to get him some good receivers. Even at, I get Odell's pretty good, but he's coming off a major injury. He hasn't played football in 2 years. Besides that, Duvernay's their next best. It's still not a great receiving core. This is definitely a step in the right direction. And I think it's a good investment right after signing him on that day. So Zay Flowers is my 4th pick. Some quick honorable mentions I want to shout out before going into my final pick are Jalen Carter at 9 for the Eagles. They traded a 4th rounder to move up 1 spot to get him. And he's arguably the best player in this draft. And due to an tragic off-field incident, caused him to drop on some people's boards, and they got him at 9 overall. The next is Will Anderson of the Texans at 3rd overall. They traded up to get him, as he's arguably also the best player in this draft. He would have been a top 3 draft pick last year. He stayed an extra year, and he went 3 overall this year. He's definitely the best edge rusher in this draft, which is one of the most valuable positions in the NFL. And for such a poorly run franchise over the last couple of years, I think it's great for them to get a player like him and CJ as well to fill 2 major holes in very valuable positions. He's instantly a top 5 player for the Texans. The final honorable mention is Anton Harrison, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, who the Jags selected at 28th overall. Once again, just protect your young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. But he can also fill a vacant hole that was left due to the Robinson suspension, which is looking like 6 games. And once he's back, he can fill the other tackle spot as well. All right, so my last pick is Nolan Smith, outside linebacker out of Georgia. He is a 6'2", 240-pound outside linebacker. He is an athletic specimen. I think he ran a 4.39 at the combine for the 40 time, which was the fastest. I think it's the fastest ever for someone of that size. I would need to look it up, but I mean, he's so fast. He's got some good size to him. He's athletic. He was selected 30th overall by the Eagles with their second first-round pick. Many mock drafts had him closer to the top 10, me myself included. I really thought he was going to go close, at least in the top 15, but he ended up slipping. He was injured most of last season. He only played 8 games last year. He had an 83.8 overall PFF grade in the 2022 season. He had a 74.9 pass rush grade and an 82.4 run defense grade, so he's a great run defender, which is really good for an edge rusher to have. He did suffer an injury, like I said, so he played 8 games. In those 8 games, he had 2 sacks, but the previous season he did record 8 sacks. He does line up strictly from the outside, the tackle. He was the highest percentile for edge rushers in pass rush win rate at 25.5% and run stop rate at 14.9. The Eagles were not in dire need of an edge rusher, but you can't pass on someone as talented as Smith at pick 30, especially when it's their second first-round draft pick, the first round. He will be in the rotation, but he won't be asked to carry the load. His rookie seasons, like someone like Will Anderson will have to do. He's going to be able to just be in the rotation and sit back and learn from guys like Reddick, Graham, and Sweat. His rookie season, and then after that, when some of them are gone, like Graham's expected to be gone after the season, he's on a 1-year deal. You can increase his workload. But yes, those have been my top 5 draft picks from the first round. And I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you guys have a differential opinion, please let me know in the comments. I am free to argue and discuss if you want, but I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.